In a time woven from starlight and shadow, nestled beside a deep emerald forest, lived a man and a woman who yearned for a child more than anything in the world. Their little cottage overlooked a magnificent walled garden, a place of impossible beauty and vibrant life, but it belonged to a powerful and feared enchantress named Dame Gothel. The woman, with child at last, found herself consumed by a strange and desperate craving. From her window, she could see the most luscious rampion, a type of lettuce growing in the enchantress's garden. Day by day, her longing grew into a feverish obsession, and she began to waste away, convinced she would perish if she could not taste it. Her husband, seeing the light fade from his wife's eyes, was overcome with fear. Under the cloak of velvet dusk, he scaled the high wall, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He hastily gathered a handful of the rampion and returned to his wife, who devoured it with desperate relief. But the relief was fleeting. The next day, her craving returned, twice as strong. She needed more. So, once again, the husband ventured into the forbidden garden. But as he plucked the vibrant green leaves from the earth, a chilling shadow fell over him. Dame Gothel stood there, her eyes like chips of ice, her voice a venomous whisper. "How dare you," she hissed, "steal from my garden like a common thief?" The man, trembling, told her of his wife's desperate craving and his fear of losing her. Gothel's expression softened, but it was a cold, calculating shift. "I will allow it," she said. "You may take all the rampion you wish, but there is a price. You must give me the child your wife will bring into the world. I will care for it as if it were my own." The man, trapped by terror and desperation, blindly agreed. And so, when a beautiful baby girl was born, with hair like spun sunshine, Dame Gothel appeared to claim her. She named the child Rapunzel and spirited her away from her heartbroken parents. Rapunzel grew into the most beautiful child under the sun. Her hair was her most remarkable feature, long, fine, and radiant as pure gold. When she turned 12, Gothel, fearing the world would discover and steal her precious treasure, led the maiden deep into the forest. There stood a solitary tower, impossibly tall, with no door and no staircase, only a single room with a single window at the very top. This tower became Rapunzel's entire world. Her only connection to the life below was Dame Gothel. When the enchantress wished to enter the tower, she would stand at its base and call out in her sing-song voice, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I may climb thy golden stair." Upon hearing the call, Rapunzel would unpin her magnificent braids, which had grown to an impossible length, and loop them around a hook by the window. The shimmering golden tresses would cascade down the stone wall, a silken rope for Gothel to climb. For years, this was Rapunzel's life, a gilded cage filled with solitude. She spent her days in a bittersweet routine, her only solace the sound of her own voice. She would sing to the birds, to the passing clouds, to the silent, watching trees. Her voice was a marvel, an ethereal melody that could soothe the wildest beast and make the flowers turn their heads to listen. It was a voice filled with all the longing, all the dreams, and all the questions of a heart that knew nothing of the world, yet yearned for it completely. She wondered about the distant mountains she could just see from her window. She dreamed of the feel of soft grass beneath her feet, of the sound of other people's laughter. Her world was stone walls and a tapestry of stars, and the bittersweet visits from the only person she had ever known. One day, a prince, the son of the king, was riding through the forest. He was a kind and adventurous soul, always seeking the hidden wonders of his kingdom. As he neared the mysterious tower, he was drawn by a sound so enchanting, so pure, that he stopped his horse, transfixed. It was a song of such profound beauty and sorrow that it seemed to be the very voice of the forest itself. He followed the melody to the base of the tower and saw the lonely window from which it flowed. He was captivated. Day after day he returned, hiding amongst the trees, listening to the unseen maiden's song, losing himself in its magic. He searched for a door, a way in, but found none. The tower was a seamless column of stone, a fortress against the world. The beautiful voice was a prisoner, and his heart ached for her. One afternoon, as he listened from his hiding place, he saw Dame Gothel approach. He watched, astonished, as she called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," and saw the spectacular cascade of golden braids tumble down the wall. He watched as the old woman climbed the living ladder and disappeared through the window. A plan sparked in the prince's mind. He had found the key. He waited until the next evening, when the sky was painted in shades of lavender and rose. He approached the tower, his heart aflutter, and mimicking Gothel's call, he sang out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." The golden waterfall descended. With trembling hands, the prince took hold and began to climb. When he reached the top and pulled himself through the window, he found himself face to face with the most beautiful maiden he had ever seen. Rapunzel was terrified. She had never seen another soul besides Gothel. But the prince spoke to her with a gentle voice, his eyes full of kindness and wonder. He told her how her singing had captured his heart, and how he could not rest until he had seen the face that belonged to such a heavenly voice. Slowly, Rapunzel's fear melted away, replaced by a curiosity and a warmth she had never known. He spoke of his kingdom, of bustling towns, of festivals and dances, of a world so vast and full of life, it made her head spin. She, in turn, told him of her quiet life, her dreams, and her loneliness. He became her secret, her window to the world she longed for. Every evening he would visit, and with each visit, their bond deepened, blossoming into a pure and profound love. They were two souls, once isolated, who had found their other half in the most unlikely of places. One day, the prince proposed a way for her to escape. "Each time I come," he said, "I will bring a skein of silk. You can weave them together into a ladder, and when it is long enough, we will escape this lonely place together, and you will be my queen." Rapunzel's heart soared with hope. The plan was set. Their shared dream of a future together began to take shape, one silken thread at a time. But happiness can make one careless. One day, as Gothel was climbing her hair, Rapunzel, in a moment of innocent thoughtlessness, said, "You are so much heavier to pull up than the young prince. He is with me in a moment." A storm of fury erupted in Gothel's eyes. "Betrayer!" she shrieked, her voice cracking with rage. "I thought I had shielded you from the world, from all its wickedness, and you have deceived me." In her blind fury, she grabbed a pair of shears. Snip! Snip! The magnificent golden braids, the pride of her life, the very symbol of her existence, fell to the floor in a shimmering, lifeless pile. Gothel's rage was not yet spent. With a cruel magic, she cast Rapunzel out into a desolate, barren wilderness, a place of thorns and sorrow to fend for herself. That evening, the unsuspecting prince arrived and called out his familiar song. Gothel, a wicked glint in her eye, let down the severed braids. The prince climbed, his heart full of love and anticipation, only to be met at the window not by his beloved Rapunzel, but by the terrifying, triumphant face of the enchantress. "You came for your songbird," she sneered, her voice dripping with venom. "But the cat has got her, and she will sing no more. You will never see her again." In absolute despair, the prince flung himself from the tower. He was not killed by the fall, but landed in a patch of thorns below, which pierced his eyes, leaving him blind. For years, the prince wandered the land, a shadow of his former self. Blind and heartbroken, he survived on roots and berries, his only nourishment the memory of Rapunzel's voice. He called her name to the wind, his life a pilgrimage of sorrow, searching for the love he had lost. Meanwhile, Rapunzel, alone in the wilderness, had learned to survive. She had given birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Born of her love for the prince, she lived a humble, difficult life. But her spirit, though tested, was not broken. And sometimes, when her heart was full of sorrow and memory, she would sing. One day, the wandering prince stumbled into the very part of the wilderness where Rapunzel lived. He was gaunt and weary, but he heard a sound, a faint, familiar melody floating on the breeze. It was a song he had never thought he would hear again. It was the voice of his love. He followed the sound, stumbling, calling her name. "Rapunzel! Rapunzel!" She heard his voice and ran to him. They fell into each other's arms, a collision of sorrow and joy. As Rapunzel wept, 2 of her tears fell upon the prince's eyes. A gentle magic, born of pure love and sorrow, washed over him. The darkness receded, and the first thing he saw was the face of his beloved Rapunzel, more beautiful than he had ever remembered. His sight was restored. He looked upon her and upon the 2 beautiful children at her side. His children. The years of pain and separation melted away in that one perfect moment of reunion. The prince led his family back to his kingdom, where they were welcomed with unimaginable joy. The years of loneliness and despair were over, replaced by a life of love, laughter, and music. And Rapunzel, the maiden from the tower, finally found her true home, not within walls of stone, but in the heart of her loving family, living happily and freely ever after.